And welcome back. I now shall proceed to read chapter 10. We are getting so close to Atia going on her adventure, so just stay tuned. And so, anyway, chapter 10. Chained to the Basin. Safira had planned on waiting until they were all together before revealing what had happened, but by the time she reached home, she could hold back no longer. As soon as she returned, she tearfully explained everything to Aseneth, who listened with a look of utter perplexity that only furthered Safira's grief. So you see, because of Lord Pathros, who is undoubtedly So you see, because of Lord Pathros, who is undoubtedly to blame for this whole mishap, after all, he was the one who knew what debts uncle owed, not father, because of Pathros, I am to ride all the way to Fatherland to settle this foolish affair. You can't go by yourself, Aseneth protested. We don't know Darren. How can we trust him? I would gladly take someone along, Safira sighed, collecting herself and rising from the chair into which she had dropped. But I can't. Who would I bring? How about Mavea? Aseneth suggested. She's capable. Safira nodded thoughtfully. I could. I would like for you to come along, but that wouldn't be fair to leave Elise in charge. Atia will be at the inn most of the time, and so she won't be of much help. Simultaneously, the two sisters glanced at each other. Atia will want to go, Aseneth said quietly. She can't, Safira replied firmly. She's been wanting to travel her entire life, Aseneth cried. She just barely started work at the inn, Safira returned. If it weren't for that, I would gladly bring her along. This isn't going to be the pleasure trip she's hoping for, however. I guess Darren did say that Fatherland was a large city, and I'm sure Atia would enjoy that, but still she can't just drop her employment at the inn. I could take over for her, Aseneth suggested. I could work there for a while. It wouldn't be right. You'll understand. Arthen reserved this job for her. He won't save it for her, and he'll be hurt if Atia leaves it so quickly. I suppose you're right. Mavea it is, then. Mavea it is. Safira agreed. Looking about, she asked, Where's Elise? Out back, Aseneth said. We should tell her. Mavea and Mara are picking tomatoes, but we can explain it to them later. I'd like them all to know before Atia, Safira said, just in case. The sun was dropping by the time Atia reached the farm. Arthen had meticulously drilled her on all her future duties, and, after that, had drawn her into a long discussion about nothing in particular. It would have gone on longer if Tamilda hadn't interrupted. Customers were arriving, she had told her husband, and she needed his help downstairs. Very well, Arthen had replied. Make sure you're here tomorrow, Atia. Remember, 10 o'clock. I'll remember, Atia replied, hoping her smile didn't betray her relief of escape. Before she made it to the stairs, however, Tamilda stopped her. Safira was here earlier. Atia nodded. She came with me this morning. No, I mean later. Afterward. She came around lunchtime to talk of our new customer. New customer? Atia hadn't been downstairs for hours, thanks to Arthen. Darren Swinsford is his name. He's come all the way from Fatherland. Atia's face lit up. Fatherland was said to be a splendid city, built along the edge of the Relamasan region. Why'd he come? Tamila smiled slyly. Well, at first I thought I'd never find out, he seemed so reserved, but after a little careful prodding, I got a thing or two out of him. Atia waited impatiently as Tamila relished her own success. Apparently, he's the herald of Lord Pathros, a wealthy gentleman who lives in Fatherland. He has come with a message for someone in the Basin, and not Sir Grimnor, mind you, someone else. Atia frowned, racking her memory to discover where she had heard of Lord Pathros. Did he say who? She asked hopefully. Tamila shook her head. Unfortunately not, but perhaps Safira knows. Like I said, she came here to talk with him. Maybe the message was for one of you? Atia couldn't help smiling. I highly doubt it would be. We don't know any lords. Tamilda laughed. Nor do I. Anyway, it's getting dark and you should run on home. If you think about it, ask Safira what he said, if you don't mind. I certainly will, Atia promised. Atia was bursting with questions as she approached the house, and no sooner had she stepped over the threshold than she called out, Safira? In the kitchen, came the distant reply. The 17-year-old girl hastened in, calling as she went. Tamilda told me that you spoke with one of the customers. Safira's face was so grave that Atia cut herself off immediately. What's the matter? She demanded. I received a letter from Lord Pathros today, an old creditor of father's. Safira handed Atia a large folded paper. Perhaps you should read it yourself. Atia took the letter, watching Safira all the while. When she had read it, she looked up in alarm. What is to be done? I must go to Fardalon, Safira said simply. I am leaving the day after tomorrow with Darren, and Mavea is coming with me. With any luck, we'll be back before fall arrives. Mavea is going with you? Atia asked stiffly. Yes, Safira replied, adding gently, You have a contract with Master Houghton and are therefore unable to go. I wish I could allow it, but you cannot come. I don't see how a contract should stand in my way. Atia forced herself to remain calm. Mavea is perfectly capable of taking my place until I return. You know that wouldn't be right. Houghton, I think he's been waiting to do us a good turn. He told us there were other girls who were happy to take your place. They can have my place and welcome. Atia, no. Safira shook her head. You can't do that. You know you can't. Besides, with the debt to pay off, we need the extra income. Passos wants 100 Aries minimum, probably much more. Atia, that is a lot of money. So you expect me to stay here? Atia cried. I'm not Houghton's slave. I can do as I wish. You signed a contract, Atia. You know it. You signed a contract. You know it. Oh my goodness. You signed a contract, Atia. You know it wouldn't be right to go. I wish I could take you. I really do. But Houghton wouldn't understand. You would hurt his feelings badly. You can't treat people like that. You need to stay. Atia's head dropped. Tears stung her eyes, and she struggled to keep her voice strong. Fine. I'll stay then. Safira went to her side and laid a hand on her shoulder. I'm sorry about this. I really am. I'd like to request one thing, Atia said after a moment. Safira waited. Atia wet her lips, trying to force out the words. She wanted to say it terribly, but knew it would be wrong. Finally, her shoulders slumped and she shook her head. Safira smoothed her hair affectionately. There may be another time. Who knows? This is not the end. Atia didn't answer, but turned and ran from the house. The tears were slow to stop. After her exchange with Safira, Atia had gone to the shed to be alone. With old farm tools around her and a dirt floor beneath her, Atia cried and cried, harder and longer than she had since Dethar took away the twins. She still thought about that man, tricking them all, and especially her with his cunning smile. Things would have been so different if he hadn't shown up. The twins would still be here, and everyone would still be happy. Giving up her place in the trip mightn't have been so hard if she had never met Dethar. Atia never mentioned him to anyone, for fear how they would react, nor did she wish to utter his name, aloud, lest her mouth should be polluted. But ever since he had left, a strange longing had entered her heart, akin to her longing for adventure, yet somehow different. It pulled at her constantly, following her around like a shadow, not always noticeable, but always there. It was troubling, and Atia felt it strongly now, as she sat with her knees drawn up, weeping and shaking, trying to reconcile herself to her fate. Safira had been gentle, but that didn't matter, because it didn't change anything. Atia still couldn't go with them to Fardalon, all because of a stupid job at a puny inn in a worthless village. How badly Atia had wanted to say something biting to Safira. How badly she had wanted to say, once you and Mavea return, I'll be leaving. She hadn't said it, because she knew it would do no good, and it would only cause her sisters unnecessary hurt. Safira already thought of her as a stubborn, ill-meaning child to be led about and carefully disciplined. Atia had disobeyed far too often for Safira to think of her as a woman. I don't belong here, she thought bitterly. I'm not supposed to be in Chestel. I don't fit in at all. I don't fit in at all. More tears gushed down her cheeks. Atia pressed a hand over her mouth to stifle a sob. I've got to get out, she thought. I've got to get away. The moment Safira returns, I'm leaving. I won't wait any longer. Even if I have to become a beggar, I've got to leave Chestel as soon as I can. I'll become a wanderer, like Arthen, until I find what I seek. Atia? Atia recoiled. I've been sitting here too long. Atia recoiled at the intrusion and looked up to see Asenis watching with sad eyes. Safira told you then. Atia nodded, sucking in her breath before exploding into tears once again. Asenis sat down next to her. You know Safira would let you go if she could. Atia shook her head. That doesn't matter. But it does, Asenis insisted. Safira loves you. She knows how badly you want to go, but there's nothing she can do to help you. She's just as upset as you are. Tia sighed but didn't answer. Aseneth went on. We all have our disappointments. Life has never been simple. Would it be worth living if it was? You didn't think that when Matthias betrayed you, Tia said bluntly. Tears sprang to Aseneth's eyes, and she looked away, readjusting her skirt. Atia wasn't fooled. I'm sorry, Aseneth. I shouldn't have said that. I know you loved him. He was cruel to you, and Safira is cruel for letting Mavea speak with him. Perhaps it's a good thing Mavea is going. That way, we can reestablish the limits, and... I don't mind that Mavea talks to him, Aseneth interrupted. He deserves that much, after riding all the way to Deltris for nothing. Safira asked me about it, and I told her I didn't care. Have you spoken to him? Atia had to ask. No, Aseneth said after a long pause. I don't want to. Later on, after all the others had gone to bed, Safira sat alone at the kitchen table, meditating on the future. Atia had taken the news badly, but had accepted it in the end. Aseneth had promised to watch over her, and Safira knew that she would. Aseneth was Safira's best friend. They had marched through the years shoulder to shoulder, and it would be hard to say goodbye now, even if it wasn't forever. A noise in the entry made Safira straighten. Who's there? She called softly. Mavea appeared by the doorframe. Safira smiled wearily. Can't sleep? I've been thinking. Mavea slid into a chair beside her eldest sister. I think I've been wrong to associate with Matthias. What do you mean? Safira asked, worried. I think it's hurting Aseneth. I know she says she doesn't mind, and maybe she thinks she doesn't, but deep down inside, I think she really doesn't like it at all. I worry that she might start to regret her decision. You mean her decision to leave him? Mavea nodded. Aseneth has a gentle heart, but she's not a fool, Safira said. She won't tie herself to someone she cannot trust. If you somehow think she's jealous, I assure you she isn't. But she still loves him, Mavea pressed. I don't think she ever stopped. And he still loves her, Safira. I see it in his eyes each time he looks at her. Something's wrong. They don't deserve to live this way. I understand what you're saying, Safira replied. But there's nothing either of us can do. It's between the two of them and no one else. I think you should take Aseneth with you. Why do you think that? To give her a second view of the world. She needs to see that there's more out there than besides Chestel. That the world is bigger than Chestel. She needs to see there are others besides Matthias. Mavea had a point. Ever since Matthias had come home from school, Aseneth had seemed more nervous than usual, talking fast, distracted easily, and occasionally wringing her hands. Of course, they were all out of sorts, but Aseneth's behavior was different. A change of scenery might be just the thing for her. Safira frowned, but then looked deep into Mavea's eyes. But surely, don't you want to see the world? Mavea shook her head without hesitation. Not really. I like it here in Chestel. I have a home, a family, and Loma as a friend. Also, I don't see this trip as very exciting. The purpose behind it isn't all that pleasant. There was still the problem of Elise. Elise wouldn't complain, but such responsibility would be hard now. But maybe it would be good for her, Safira thought suddenly. It would help keep her mind off the past and help her move forward. Are you sure you don't mind? Safira asked. Mavea nodded. I am sure. Then I'll tell Aseneth about it tomorrow. I'm glad you thought of it. I'll be off to bed now, Mavea said, rising from her chair. Safira smiled and nodded. Good night. Good night. And that is the end of chapter 10. I rather like recording, got my own piece of lavender. I rather like recording the chapters one after the other, and I've kind of had a sense that I would enjoy it, and I've just been spotted. I kind of have the sense that I would enjoy it because I finished recording a chapter and I'm finally getting in the groove of it, and then I stop. So maybe, if my time allows, I probably will start recording chapters, in group, one after the other a few more times. In fact, I would probably continue and just do chapter 11, and maybe I'll come back out. But, anyway, I got 2 done, and I gotta post, chapter 9. So, anyway, for now, I bid you all farewell until the next time. And we are getting so close to Atia's adventure. I'm excited.